Well, Manroland is the industry's oldest manufacturer of offset presses. You know, it goes back to 1911 when they started building their presses, and they've had remarkable success all over the world selling machines. In Asia, for instance, when I started in this business, Roland, before it was Manroland, commanded the largest market share in places like Hong Kong, Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. They also penetrated India, although not as rapid as, let's say, somebody like Planeta, because Planeta had cheaper machines from East Germany. In America, they were huge. They were marketed under Mealy, the Mealy company from MGD in Chicago. They had a close association with them, and then in 1990, they took over all the agency in North America, and it became Manroland Inc. But they were so dominant in offset press manufacturing, from the 25-inch press, the favorite, right up to the 800, which was the largest one, the 63-inch press. And so they commanded respect in every segment of sheet-fed offset printing. So that's from commercial work, from book work, right up to packaging. They were really good packaging press. And then, of course, in 1990, they introduced their brand new format, which was called the 700. And it took them a couple years for that press to actually enter print shops. But when it did, it initially received lots of applause because it was such a far-reaching advanced press compared to anyone else, including Heidelberg. They had features on that press that nobody else had. They had things like transferters, which were the transfer cylinders that were skeleton, but they could cock them from the console. They had a really good dampening system, revised Roll-O-Matic dampening system. They created the vacuum feed board, which everyone uses today. That was a Roland invention. They already had the vacuum side guide, which was another Roland invention that everyone has. They had the new style deliveries, the up and over deliveries, which again, including Heidelberg, they all have that style delivery today. So it was a really phenomenally successful press on paper, but it also was controlled by computer, and this was the first one that was controlled by software. And they ran into a lot of issues with software, the reliability of the machine. Now we had to worry about the input powers, and different countries have different regulations on input power. And that became a really big problem. So countries, including North America, we had this problem too. We had to have power conditioners added to the machine, which is like a transformer that actually makes sure that it meters out the right amount of voltage in a steady flow. They didn't have that much of a problem in Germany. But this was a constant problem in the early days for Manroland. And they also connected all their machines, all their units up using fiber optics to the console. Now today, when we talk about fiber optics, everyone knows something about fiber optic. But back in 1990, it was rather rare that you saw those in applications other than, let's say, telecommunications. Manroland tried. And they weren't very successful because there was lots of issues with the fiber optic cables. Machines would warm up. The connectors would separate from the modules on, let's say, one particular unit. By the time they called the service tech over, he would arrive. The press had cooled down. It reconnected itself. It drove everybody crazy. Sometimes when they were dismantling a machine or installing a machine, somebody would drive over the cables with a forklift, and the main cable to the console was glass, and of course it would crack it, and then they would have interference and issues there that nobody could seem to find right away. That really was the start of the end for Manroland. They did have the best press, and a lot of people, Heidelberg, Koenig & Bauer, even Komori, Mitsubishi, they all studied that press very carefully, and they took components and ideas from the 700 and built them and incorporated them into their presses. Meanwhile, Roland lost a lot of market share, and that was a huge problem. And so as time went on, especially from 1995 on, when they brought out the 900, which was their large format version of the 700, things started to dissipate a little bit for Manroland. Their agencies became a little weaker. In Germany, the agent that they had in Germany for decades left Roland and became the Komori agent, which was a real shock. All of these things, it's like death by a thousand cuts. All these little things combined to weaken Roland. At the end, Allianz, which is the big insurance company in Germany, was a partner with MAN, the holding company, or the large overseeing company, which is in itself a massive company in trucks and diesel and all sorts of things. They announced that they were not putting any money in Manroland, which at that time was the web division in Augsburg and the Sheetfed division in Offenbach. And when they did that, and basically let Manroland go it alone, they couldn't manage. And that's when their first bankruptcy happened. And that's when Langley bought Manroland, the Sheetfed part, and I think Posel bought the web part. And they carried on for a few years, and Langley, rightfully so, made Manroland a smaller company. They realized they were never going to be the largest anymore. They were never going to compete with Heidelberg or Koenig & Bauer. They had to pick their spots. One of their spots, of course, as a lot of people have written about, is China. They were always a big fan of Roland's, and Manroland spent a lot of time in China. But then recently, that market has cooled to Roland, and they're not selling a lot of machines there. So since nobody is selling a lot of sheet-fed offset presses anymore, Manroland is really came to the realization that they're not a business that can sustain itself. And Langley, who was putting money in that company, just decided that they were going to stop. He doesn't have any lingering love affair with printing because he's not a printer. He didn't come from the printing industry. He's got a very successful business in a lot of other different areas, including power generation and things like that. So for him, it was probably a fairly easy decision. We're just not going to make these Rolands anymore. And that's where we are now today. From what I know of Manroland, I mean, these problems that I spoke of in the early 90s, they basically disappeared by around 1995. But the damage had already been done. As far as China is concerned, it wasn't. I don't think it was so much that they had a problem with the presses. I think it was that other manufacturers are putting bigger impetus into China. Look at Heidelberg in Shanghai. They've got a big plant there building the CX 104 presses there. They have a big market share in China. And Koenig & Bauer is also spending a lot of time and money in China. And I think those two forces together combined against Manroland, which was, again, a smaller company that maybe couldn't deliver machines fast enough when somebody wanted to order a press, something like that. So I think Manroland just went out of favor with printers all over the world. Not because it was a bad press. It wasn't a bad press. It was a good press. It was just simply that other manufacturers had stepped up their game. Well, there's a little bit of hand wringing going on now in Europe because the only manufacturer that makes a large format press, that's 56, 57, 64-inch presses, is Koenig Bauer. That's the only one. That's a problem. This is why Heidelberg had entered into a deal with Manroland to take the 900 press from Manroland and reconfigure it into the Heidelberg platform using Heidelberg front ends and software and things like that. That's a big question now, whether or not that could even happen if they're not going to be building presses. So time will tell what's going to happen there. But generally in the market, when you lose a competitor, and in Germany, you had these three competitors for a long time. And then you've got Komori and RMGT in Japan, rounding it out. You don't really want to lose any competitors, but offset is getting to be a much smaller market now. And other than packaging, commercial printing, it's much smaller, and it drops every year. So it's going to continue dropping. So manufacturers are having more and more difficulty making machines to ship. When I started in the trade, there was long wait times for all machines, and it was about how quickly you could deliver a machine. Sometimes that got you the order. And companies like Miller, Nebbiolo in Italy, they also build large format machines. Crabtree in the UK, they're all gone now. Yeah. So it's really down to Koenig Bauer and Heidelberg now as two German companies that build offset presses. So on one hand, it's good for them because they've got less competition, but on the other hand, they probably weren't really competing against Manroland anyway. It was a good press. It is a good press. It was well ahead of everyone when it came out. It's still very highly advanced. It's a fast press. The Roland, when it came out, the 700, it was running at 15,000 an hour. That was the fastest press in the business. Even though Koenig Bauer said they had a faster press, they never sold any that I know of. It was Roland. They were the innovators all over.